Soccer Show. It's a rainy Friday morning in the Queen City, and the rain, it sounds and it looks like Christian Latanzio's tears after another tough question post-game. Danny Brams.
Well, it's kind of funny you say that, and welcome to Friday morning. Wrapping up a week of Charlotte Soccer Show daily content. We've been crushing it, having a lot of fun. It's a playoff Friday. There's playoff soccer tonight in the QC. Can't wait for that. We will talk some independence. But the rain that you cited off the top, Johnny, it's like it's been calm, and all of a sudden the rain's like exploding, and that's about to get a lot worse. And that's kind of how things went for Latanzio the other night. He seemed all calm and all smiles and happy with the results after the draw, and then put a microphone in front of him, he blew up.
And that's why I wanted to start the episode now, as that rain picked up, just kind of set the vibe for today's show. And it is Charlotte Soccer Show Daily. We've been here all week during this historic week of soccer matches here in the QC. We've now entered the weekend phase, which is back-to-back massive home matches. You cited the Independence game Friday evening against Greenville, a bit of a derby match in this playoff game at American Legion Memorial Stadium, and then
investigate Greenville.
And then of course we have again Inter Miami and Messi coming on Saturday night. First thing I wanted to do is if you haven't seen Thursday's content yet, Danny Brams, fill the people in on what you did on our YouTube page on Thursday.
If you don't follow the show on YouTube yet, you got to go there. We made a YouTube. We've been doing daily content. Yesterday was YouTube exclusive. You're not gonna find it on this feed. You got to go get it. But it was really cool to get back on the live stream mode and talk to Chris from the Battered Herons podcast. That's like a Inter Miami fan cast that is very. They're doing down there what we're doing up here kind of type of thing, and some really cool guys. And Chris joined, and I got to talk all over him and tell him I didn't care about his opinions and say his pick for the game didn't matter, and basically just shit all over him, and it was great. And just kidding. But I did find myself when I listened back, I was like, man, I should have let the guest talk a little more. My fault, Chris. Sorry about that.
Chris, welcome to my life, dude. Oh man, it's nice to know somebody else is dealing with that as well. So I appreciate you, Chris. We're in this.
Wind me up, baby. I won't shut up. That's my problem.
We're here, Poppy's Bagels on Providence Road. So if you hear some cars go by, that's why we're sitting out here on the patio at Poppy's. A great spot, and the first time we're doing an episode here. I've always wanted to do an episode here because I frequent this place.
Yeah, the bagel sandwiches we just had, mine was great. I'm sure you invited it here, and I love a new location, obviously on a historic week. I will say, it might be a little annoying to hear some of these traffic noises in the background, but I'll tell you this much. People are trying to get places, and Charlotte FC is trying to get places, namely the playoffs. So it's fitting. The Independent's already there. I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to do my extended analogy, philosophy professor BS here and say tomorrow is a playoff game for Charlotte FC also.
Yes.
It's win or you're done. So it might as well be a playoff game.
I disagree with that.
I know you do, but yeah, that's what I thought.
It's because you can draw and still make the playoffs.
In the most insane,
it's not even that insane.
Some 6-0 results. Wouldn't you need some goal differential help elsewhere?
I don't think so.
Right.
And here's why. And you can tell me if I'm wrong here, and I can scrub this from the podcast on the edit if it's not right.
No, we're keeping it in no matter what.
So if you look at the standings,
I'm looking at them.
Okay, I'm going to pull them up too.
I've been staring at them. I recite them to myself every night before bed, basically, this week. So I'm fairly familiar. But as far as I remember, we have four teams tied on 40 points.
Yeah,
right?
so hear me out.
Four for 40.
What happens if both New York Red Bulls and Chicago lose and Charlotte FC draws? We have 41 points and they have 40, and we're in at 9.
Yes, then that would be New York City would have been the team that beats Chicago, and they're also on 41, and they would beat us with goal differential, I think, because we would have the same number of wins.
So NYC would get their 9th win there, tie Charlotte.
Yeah,
and
41 points, yeah.
Right now, our goal differential is 8, and their goal differential is 5.
Right. So we would need New York City to win by -4 goals. If that's possible, which it's not. So
NYCFC sneaking up there,
right?
Into that ninth
Us
place
drawing
would do it.
is part of their scenario, basically.
Yes, it is.
Or losing.
Yeah, so I am wrong on that. I am wrong on that.
It's all right though. It was hopeful, and it was the right attitude to want to have. But the fact of the matter is, we got to win.
I'm still trying to game this system to figure out.
I mean, there's always a way. Like, yeah,
draw.
it's like, you know how you ever watch back old matches or old sporting events on ESPN Classic that you know the results of, and you just wish it would be different. You know, you're like, if I watch it again this time, maybe we'll win this time. I used to do that with like old games that my team lost.
So if Chicago does draw New York City, Chicago still has the tiebreaker because they have 10 wins and we only have 9.
They would beat us on the first tiebreaker.
So actually, it is not possible. Yeah. I don't think it is possible. And you know why it's not possible? Because this team has shot itself in the foot over and over and over again.
It would be fitting if a draw would get us in because we've drawn so much this year.
Yeah, but I was trying to make it work.
Yeah, we might as well just own up to the fact that the draws have put us into a position where drawing is no longer acceptable. Right. Sorry to bring that up, Coach. I hate to point out the fact that looking really good for 75 minutes and then not winning is not good enough in this league or in this sport or in the minds and hearts of all of our supporters. I really do hate to bring that up, and I'm sorry. Don't yell at me, but it's true.
You're creating an environment, Danny. This environment that you're creating, it's just...
Maybe that's the problem.
You know what is one of my favorite things about the discussion about how nervy the environment can become at the end of the match? Excuse me. At the end of the match for Charlotte FC is does Christian Latanzio realize that the team started the match on Wednesday incredibly nervy?
Yeah, right. They were nervy the entire time.
And it's not about the atmosphere that's created. It's actually because you're not giving them any confidence to believe that you can go out there and accomplish the goal.
Right. And they did look good at times, but they didn't dominate.
Looked horrible.
They didn't dominate for 75 minutes.
No, they looked horrible in the first half.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
They looked horrible.
Except for the one move that led to the goal, which was Kerwin looking real nice.
Right, and that was on the 45th minute. So there was 44 minutes of play. And I think it was in the 40th minute or so, I shot out a post on our X page at For the Crown Baby. Make sure you go there to check out our content and catch up on some other shows. You can find Danny's YouTube show link there as well. I sent out, I said not even close to good enough. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to kind of rehash everything that went down on Wednesday night, but I want to ask you the question of what is good enough against this Miami team with potentially Messi on Saturday night? Like, what are realistic expectations for this match? What can you get out of Charlotte FC here that you didn't get in Miami?
Well, it's a whole different thing whether or not Messi starts. So I think we obviously need to have that discussion of, well, do we think Messi will start and has that changed things? We don't have to get there right away because I'll just say we have to win. And so when it comes to what do we need to do to answer your question, we need to play with the confidence that we know that we have. You know, we have good players.
The home field could do that.
And I think home will help. You know, I want to say...
You're saying...
Just because...
You're saying, that you have to be confident. We have to win. It's like, yeah, I know, but I'm asking you to be specific. Like, what can you expect from this team on Saturday that they did not give you on Wednesday?
Karol Swiderski from the start, ready to rock, fully rested, didn't just get off the plane 12 hours ago.
Yeah.
I thought he was a difference maker in the last 30 minutes when he came in and just looked a little too tired still, you know, from all the travel. And unfortunately blew 2 really good chances to put us up 3-1 and give us that 2-goal cushion. I hate that he didn't finish those. Shot them both into the keeper's gut. That sucked. But having him on from the start at home, I think, is a huge confidence boost for us.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I think it sends Kerwin back to the bench, and Kerwin was the best player. But, like, how about here's another thing we can do. Here's another thing that you can do, Coach Christian Latanzio. Don't make your pre-planned subs when the game's not going the way you planned it. It's obvious that Kerwin was a planned 60-minute substitution. It was always the move to, like, get Kerwin and Brecht off and get Carol on around the 60th. But, like, what you don't understand is Kerwin was the man of the match at that point. Kerwin was cooking. He had a goal and an assist. He was, like, slicing and dicing. If you go back and watch the YouTube show, when I was talking to Chris from Miami, he was like, that Kerwin Vargas, man, like, that he caught the eye. Like opposing fans are noticing this guy is, like, dominating them.
Yeah.
And, like, sub him out with a 1-goal lead in the 60th. Why not? Like, You don't do that kind of stuff with a 1-goal lead. Like, we still haven't learned our lesson. Like, the reason you get asked about this, Christian, all the time is you still haven't learned your damn lesson, man. Like, what the hell? Like,
the Kerwin Vargas substitution was, really a substitution that was dumbfounding, and especially when you consider the fact that he might not start the next match.
Right. Why not start him?
Lean on him
minutes?
to go 100 minutes if he has to.
Right.
And take off one of the older players.
And don't tell me he looks tired or something, because he didn't, and he's like 21 years old.
Yeah,
so
he's young and he's fit, and he can do the full 90 better than Ashley Westwood can.
Right.
I do, and Ashley Westwood can do a full 90, of course, but I think Kerwin Vargas has a little more gas left in that tank for an extra bit of giddy-up.
Right.
At the end of a match that maybe some of these older midfielders can't tap into those reserves.
Right.
Someone like Kerwin Vargas, who is young and has those fresh legs, he can tap into reserves, and if he doesn't start on Saturday, it'll make that substitution look even sillier.
Right, and you got to adjust. Like, we were happy to see Scotty Arthur come on. It's not that I wouldn't have been shocked if Scotty had started instead of Kerwin, to be perfectly honest. But you got to adjust, and you got to be like, well, I was thinking Kerwin was only good for about 69. I was going to take him off. That was kind of my idea coming in. But, man, he's cooking. Let's leave him out there a little longer. Like, How does that not come into your head as a coach?
Right. Okay. So, I don't want to rehash too much about Wednesday night because I'm hyper-focused on the next match on Saturday.
It's match day -1,
yeah,
baby.
Yeah, exactly. And one day until Miami at this point. 0 days until Greenville. We'll deal with that this evening.
Exactly. Yep.
So we'll recap the Independence match on the show. Maybe if we do a show on Sunday, we'll probably do a show on Sunday, is my guess. It's a big night on Saturday, and Sunday we're either going to be discussing our playoff match on Wednesday, or we're going to be discussing whether David Tepper makes the decision to fire Christian Lattanzio. So there was a game recently where we were sitting with the Toronto game, our tremendous friend of the show, Kevin Anderson, who was at EPR on Wednesday night. Shout out to Kevin.
One of the true ride or dies.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely. And shout out to everybody that showed up to EPR on Wednesday night. It was an intimate setting. It was a great watch party. It was like having people over. Back in the day where you'd have like a basement party and have all your friends over, and it'd be like 15 of you, 20 of you down in the basement watching it.
Yeah.
Drinking some soda, having chips. It was like that.
Perfect Friday night.
Yeah, exactly. Just like the adult version.
Yeah. Pizza Hut just got delivered, for sure. But you got a new video game, everything's great. But no, that was the vibe. But we even had some first timers. Shout out to Josh, who showed up for the first time. Great to meet you, Josh. And Ben was there, Keegan and Sarah, all the crew. Everybody showed out.
Every time you say Keegan and Sarah, it reminds me of there's a band that I like. I think
Tegan and Sarah. Yeah. There's a band called Tegan and Sarah.
That's who I'm thinking of, and I can only think of them. And maybe they would.
I love both couples.
Yeah, me too. So for Saturday, right? You mentioned Karol Swiderski coming on. This should be in front of 70,000 people, right? We need to consider this. Right. We need to be, and I think we don't need to undersell this. Is that it's been a long time since that inaugural match against LA Galaxy, and that place was absolutely electric.
Yeah, that was a different kind of vibe that night for sure.
If Saturday is going to be like that, then this is going to be just a beacon of soccer, not just in this city, not just in this state, but in this country.
Well, the whole world will be watching. Does Messi play? There's going to be like it or not. There's a global audience for this game that does not care about Charlotte FC one iota, and that's a weird kind of thing to admit to or even try to process.
But they might when they see the atmosphere and ask themselves, "Wait, what is going on there?"
Right. So what do you do in that situation? You're putting your best foot forward in that scenario.
Yeah, you have to play attacking football. You want to put yourself out there, Danny, in a way that represents you and your club beautifully.
And what I don't need. So I know everyone's going to be going off and going nuts and going insane. I have a strong confidence that the crowd will deliver. I know there's going to be the whole vibe of, are you a Messi fan or a Charlotte fan? I've talked about that a lot. In the end, I don't really care because I'm only there for myself. Like I love my friends, I support my camaraderie, but I go to these games for me, and I'm there for my religious experience at a soccer match. You know, like that's the way it goes. So like I refuse to let people that are there for reasons I don't respect. I refuse to let them even matter to me. Like I don't care. I don't respect it, but I don't care about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you might get a beer shower, direct it right at your face.
You never know. In the heat of the moment, sometimes things change. What I'm describing is my philosophical ideal when I'm at my best. So what I'm worried about, though, what I can't have, and I know at this point, it's always, when you're this deep into any podcast, I've learned, always helps just the metrics and all that. Just drop some Taylor Swift references. So what I can't have is Christian Lattanzio coming out at the end of Saturday's match, and we drew and got all the help we needed, but then suffered a draw and missed the playoffs. And the coach comes out and says, "Oh, look what you made me do. Look what you made me do." Because I'm so sick of that, him blaming the fans and trying to say it's the environment, and maybe you cheered too hard, maybe you didn't cheer enough. You know, it's like whatever we do is not good enough for him. I'm tired of that.
Any excuse besides this one is on me.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Yeah, like
just say that.
Just anything besides that. And I mentioned that Toronto match, and I mentioned Kevin Anderson and that whole crew for a reason, because I felt like at that Toronto match, and this is I think important for me to get into this next segment. This is something I really wanted to discuss. Because at that Toronto match, it felt like double jeopardy. It felt like something was happening that night. Either Charlotte FC was going to win that match and go on a run to make the playoffs, or Charlotte FC was going to draw or lose to the worst team, one of the worst teams in MLS.
One of the worst teams in recent MLS history.
And Christian Lattanzio was going to get sacked for it. So I felt like there was this kind of double jeopardy in the air that made what was a sleepy midweek match night into, for me, one of the most intense matches of the season.
Yeah.
And now I want to apply that to this Saturday. Right? Not only do we have double jeopardy, we have decision day scoreboard watching.
Yeah.
I mean, and we have a stadium full of 70,000 people. What I am going to say is simply this, is that this 90 minutes, no matter how it goes, this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And the ability on decision day, yes, sure, you want to have total control of how you make the playoffs. Right? And Charlotte FC, they had to win 4 games in a row, and a lot of people thought that they could. I was not one of those people. I figured that, they had won 1 of 15, 4 in a row after that is really, really tough, and all of a sudden they draw one. So we're in this scenario where you need help. So I promise you, make sure that your phone is charged, make sure you're connected to the Wi-Fi there, and as our game is happening, and other games are happening, and scores are totaling, it's going to be kind of this euphoric evening of celebrating soccer, but it will also be super nervy.
Getting going a little early, 6 o'clock kick, it could be a nice, there's the air that the post party is much more likely, like you get the game started a little earlier, it's easy to get out on the town afterwards, and that's in the back of your mind. You're thinking, as you're watching the match, what are we doing after the result and all this stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, this is going to be mine. Well, maybe if we don't host a playoff match, which probably not going to, unless we make it to unless we make it through the wild card and host one of the games in the series.
I think we're more likely to host the wild card than travel for the wild card if we make it. There's more scenarios where we would host than not.
Okay.
But Montreal there's also a lot of scenarios where Montreal is supposed to we play the wild card in Canada, for sure.
Yes, that would be a tough match, by the way.
But if Montreal loses to Nashville, which we need anyway, then it's up for hosting the wild card.
So on this preview episode,
Columbus, not Nashville.
On this preview episode, what I wanted to do, Danny, is aside from all the bitching about Lattanzio, aside from
I know, but I had to get that in.
No, I'm glad that you did. I did too. I started the show that way, but I also wanted to, 20 minutes into this show, as people are listening to this on Friday afternoon or Saturday morning on match day, or heading into the match on Saturday afternoon, and we're giving you this preview. What I want to do is I want to give you a little bit of goosebumps. I want you to actually, for a second, stop to think about how amazing this situation actually is for Charlotte FC.
Yeah.
right? That this match on Saturday is going to be just absolutely electric and so meaningful. The only issue is that we might have a manager right now that people don't love, but when you're having an issue backing your manager, you know what makes it easier to do? Just back the players.
I love that. Man, I love that. So good.
So you just back the players on Saturday night.
The boys.
You know, even if you don't like some of the players, back the players that you like.
Right. Mom and dad are fighting. You know, mom and dad are fighting, and they may not make it. But we need to set the kids up for success as best as possible. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the fact of the matter.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that we talked about Kerwin Vargas, because I think certain things that we talk about on this show stand out to me over the course of now 125 episodes. And one thing that stood out to me always is when we had the discussion about protecting Kerwin Vargas at all costs.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like, I think that this is another
still
example
stands.
of that.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
that's only gotten stronger.
Latanzio is clearly failing this kid. Yeah, he gives him the start, but he yanks him from the game.
That he was cooking.
Exactly. So, you know, what
that was like an 85-minute walk out with your hand up in the air saluting the traveling supporters type of game. That's what he deserved, not a 60th minute. You know, we're in the process of shitting our pants, and we don't want you to get any on you.
Yeah. So, would you make the argument that Kerwin Vargas actually earned himself a starting spot on Saturday night, and Brecht Diagre actually played himself out of the lineup on Saturday night?
So I don't know, because I thought Brecht was playing pretty poorly, and then I looked at people were like, "No, he's cooking," and I was like, "Wait!" And I looked at the stats. His stats were pretty good. He had a really good rating, so I don't know. I would maybe start Kerwin over Camille. Maybe Camille was effective and had a nice assist, but bit of a lucky assist. You know, is a nutmeg pass through a defender's legs luck or skill? You can make the question, but I mean, it was a long, slow roller across the box that just was fortunate that no one's there. I'm not downplaying Camille at all, but I'm just saying, if you're looking for a place for Kerwin to find a spot in the lineup, I could see Camille coming as a sub.
Well, the other point here while we're discussing this is you can kind of treat this match like a cup final.
Yeah.
You can treat this match like a standalone situation.
Right.
Because, you know, there's potentially no tomorrow, even if you do win. So in that scenario, you have to think about like substitution patterns. You need to think about who's available. You need to think about how do you want to start the match, right? And my suggestion here in this scenario would be to start the match in a way that is much, much different than the way that the match started on Wednesday. And what I mean by that is...
Like personnel-wise?
Ask yourself, how do you start on the front foot? Is Camille Uzviak the right player to help you start on the front foot? And the answer to that might be no. Kerwin Vargas probably is. Right? And you ask
Kerwin and Copetti have a really nice chemistry.
They do. And how do you score an early goal? That's my question. Right. How do you score a goal in the first 10 minutes? Do you start Kerwin, or do you start Camille, or do you start... Like, who is that? You know, is Bronico, for example, does Bronico sit in the first half? Right? Because you have to ask yourself, are we going for an early goal, or are we playing this game to win in the second half? Because, you know, Latanzio might come out, play defensive, sit back, maintain possession, and try to score
I'll walk
late.
Out of there at halftime. If I don't like what I see, I'm out.
But seriously though, like you have to. The reason why these cup final games are some of the most addictive drug in soccer is because everything that typically applies to like a normal game of football is totally thrown out the window. Because you are managing, and this is where, and I finally get to make this point on this show, that what we're seeing in front of our faces, and I think what we're likely to see on Saturday, is management doesn't matter in the middle of the MLS regular season. Like, game management. Latanzio was fucked around all season long. It didn't really matter. Like, it's whatever. And you usually don't finish a game and you're like, well, that manager got out-coached by the other guy. We have the opportunity here to see one of the better managers in global football just absolutely school the fuck out of Christian Latanzio in this 180-minute game. And he got the result that he wanted on his home field with his B team. And now Tata wants to come up here to Charlotte and kick our fucking ass.
Yeah.
And if that happens, what you're going to see there is just very simply the difference between how an experienced, strong manager can deal with a situation like this and how an inexperienced career assistant is dealing with the situation for the first time.
Let's hope it's Laddie's finest hour, man. Like, that's the thing. It's like,
whatever happens. I'm just saying, like,
you're right.
Like, it's right in front. I'm just saying, just see what's in front of you. Don't ignore your nose. It's right there.
I love the focus on this is everything, like you say. Like, the way you framed it was so cool. And even though we may not agree with the way we got here, the fact is we're here, and this is going to be a pretty fun day.
Yeah.
Everything you said about the scoreboard watching and the double jeopardy and the, there is no tomorrow, aspect of it, to quote Apollo Creed from Rocky. Like, there is no tomorrow, Rock. There is no tomorrow. Like,
yeah,
that's what it's all about, man. For the Independence tonight, for Charlotte FC on Saturday night, it's like and a storm has moved into the Queen City.
It has.
And are we gonna come out the other side of this storm, holding our heads high on a sunshiny day, or are we gonna be hiding in our hovels, just like crawling under a blanket to get away from it?
Let me add one more little bit of wrinkle to get you excited here.
Please do, yeah.
For Saturday. The hourly forecast says at 6 p.m. on Saturday evening is going to be sunny and 68. There is a 0% chance of rain from 8 a.m. onward. Nothing but sun-splashed fall Saturday in October here in Charlotte. I mean, this is literally what dreams are made of.
Yeah. Like, and think about it, it's going to be packed. There's going to be 60, 70,000 people in there for sure. 65, 70 probably. I think they've sold over 60 at least already.
Joe LeBou at the unveiling at the Atrium Health Performance Park unveiling where you were that evening said in that press conference that they sold over 60,000 already.
Right, that's the number I've been going with. But hopefully even more since then.
Well, I saw Christian Fuchs was working the phones again. Everybody's making calls.
I love that. I love when Fuchs is on the phones, it's a big game. So what's so critical, I think, for the future of the club is that all those people who are there for maybe the first time, the non-diehards who show up, they need to have a good time. They need to have a good experience. And so for those of us who are like more experienced and those of us who are a little more plugged into like what's at stake and know what's going on and like jumping up and down in the supporters and like standing during the game in other sections and yelling and knowing what's happening and like not just like sitting around staring at your phone waiting for a goal. Like we're gonna sort of like, it's on us to like help the casuals like have a great time so they'll want to come back and like build this club. Like, I'm not here trying to shill ticket sales for Charlotte FC, but I just want my club to survive. And like what I saw in Miami the other night, where a midweek game where Messi was not playing and there was about 20% of the stadium full, that's not what I want to see in Charlotte someday.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to see that either. Yeah. And what we could do to the casuals, someone who may have just found this show this week, is we can challenge you to live and die during every touch. Challenge yourself to watch every touch. I think that to me is like how you start to really develop as a soccer supporter, as a soccer person, is when you realize that every touch during the match is crucial, and then you start going ooh and ah over a random touch in the midfield or a good turn that somebody made or the beginning of a build-up. I think when you're able to recognize the build-up, that's when you really kind of understood where you are. Because I think what you're going to see and hear on Saturday night is when the build-up begins, where there's a ton of smart soccer fans here in this city. When the build-up begins, you're going to see people get on their feet. You're going to hear the noise start to reverberate around the fortress. You're going to hear all those things because I do think... Yeah, it's going to be jumping. It's going to be jumping. And I have to say this. It was during this podcast that I learned that the match kicked off at 6 p.m.
I love it. That's what I'm here for. I'm just here to provide 85% accurate information. So like you always know I'm wrong about a couple of things, but you don't know what they are. So yeah.
Oh man, so 6 o'clock, dude. I'm pumped about that. I thought it was at 7:38.
No, yeah, it's gonna be a hell of a day. That means the party starts a little earlier. That means we're better. Like I plan to like. I've got a few morning errands, and then I'm in game mode. Like, once piano lessons is over for the kiddo, I'm locked in.
For me, I am planning on doing a Charlotte a Charlotte SBCA adoption event until 2 o'clock.
Hell yeah!
And then I'll be at Hopline at 3.
Yeah, let's go.
I'll be there at 3 o'clock.
Let's get it going.
Yeah, get there at 3 o'clock. Get 3 hours of tailgating in and 3 hours.
Todo el tiempo, baby.
Before the it's time. It's time for this match. So it's been a great show. We're doing 30 minutes. I think that's a good place to be.
Thanks for hanging out with us, y'all.
Yeah, thank you so much. The Tifos all week, following this content, engaging with us. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. We'll make sure our match day story is lit. It's fun and exciting and funny.
Final thing: don't predict the result. Predict this Messi start.
I think that Messi does not start.
I say he doesn't start. I say he subs in at 60.
I absolutely think that he'll come into play, and there's something, and I'm not going to predict the result. I'm going to share my gut reaction and my gut feeling with you. Is that it just feels like to me that, you know, when forces are in motion around you, it's like it's so easy to ignore what they're leading to, but like it just feels like everything with Messi. You sent me a clip from our show a year ago talking about this day.
Yeah.
It just feels like Messi is going to come onto the pitch and make an impact. He's going to score a goal. So the question becomes: Is Charlotte FC leading by 2 when he comes on? Because they better be, because Messi's going to score.
Couldn't have said it better myself, so I won't even try.
It's the Charlotte Soccer Show. Follow us on Instagram. Charlotte Soccer City. We'll be hanging out with you all day Saturday there. And come meet us at Hop Fly pregame. Come at the supporters bar as well. Inside the stadium, behind the supporters section. We'll be there hanging out for an hour or so before a kick. A couple hours at Hop Fly. We'll walk down Mint Street.
If Lowe's wants to start kicking some money, we'll start calling it the Lowe's Tap Room also, by the way, not the supporters bar. But
we don't get a cut of that. We don't get a cut of that.
Just kidding.
So it's Friday. Enjoy the Independence match this evening.
We'll be there.
Good luck to the Jacks. Big game against Greenville. Greenville Triumph? Is that?
Yeah. Greenville Triumph. The USL 1 playoffs. It's only 6 teams in, so this is essentially a quarterfinal.
Yeah, we're hosting because we finished in 4th.
Yep.
And we're hosting the 5th place Greenville Triumph. Exactly. So
the win,
Independence wins this, and they're on the road in that next round.
Then we get to go play the hated NCFC.
That could be
maybe
a
a Charlotte Soccer Show road trip. We'll see. You never know. Depends what else is going on.
It's Charlotte Soccer Show. Until next time.
For the crown, baby.